Did you have any idea Jericho was destroyed because it was crawling with giants? I never heard this growing up, but a little investigation reveals Israel was hunting something. This wasn't a war over land at all. Jericho was a stronghold of the giant clans. And if this is true, it would fundamentally change our understanding of the Old Testament conquest. This evidence unlocks the whole story. A late Arabic tradition calls Jericho the city of giants. It was a nearly impenetrable fortress. In some places, the walls were up to 18 feet thick. So you can see why some thought giants once lived there. It's really the same question people ask about the pyramids today. Who could build something as massive as this? A number of other ancient cities were also said to have been built by giants. The Greek geographer Pausanias tells us the great walls of Mycenae, Tiryns, and Argos were constructed by the giant Cyclops. I don't believe in Cyclops, but Jericho is different. There's more evidence than just huge walls and rumors. The first evidence comes from an intelligence report in Joshua chapter 2. In the Bible, Joshua sent spies into Jericho to scope it out. There they meet a prostitute named Rahab. Now, she's heard of Joshua and the Israelites because they just killed the most famous giant in the entire Bible. And no, it's not Goliath. Back in their day, it was King Og. Rahab knew what was coming. She said, "We have heard what you did to the 2 kings of the Amorites, who were beyond the Jordan, to Sihon and Og." If you fall asleep reading the names in the Bible, I don't blame you. But you'll miss a hidden clue about the giants here. Elsewhere in the Bible, the Amorites were described like this. Their height was like the height of cedars, and who was strong as the oaks. Rahab knew Og was huge. He was famous for having an iron bed that was 13.5 feet long. So if Israel could take him out, what would they do to Jericho? Consider this though. Might she be scared because giants were here in Jericho? Maybe it was her fear that led her to commit treason. Or maybe she just realized she was on the wrong side. But whatever it was, she decided to sell her own city out to be flattened. Right now, our evidence in support of giants at Jericho is admittedly still pretty flimsy, but not for long. There's another piece of intel we should look at. There's a hidden clue in the military orders in the Bible. When God gave the Israelites instructions for conquering the land of Canaan, He actually gave the Israelites 2 different sets of instructions, depending on who they encountered. For some people groups, the Israelites were told to scatter them or drive them out. But for others, they were told to devote to destruction, utterly destroy everything that breathes. That seems excessive. Unless... If you're a little disturbed right now, I don't blame you, but hang in there, because it's far more complicated than it seems on the surface. So which command did God give regarding Jericho? Joshua 6:17 holds the key. Jericho shall be devoted to the Lord for destruction. What would be so bad that an entire city would need to be effectively nuked? How about an outbreak? You've seen this 100 times in movies and video games, like Resident Evil or the movie Outbreak. A virus spreads through a city, and the military orders a nuclear strike. Some view the giants the same way, as a genetic outbreak. They pose the theory that the rebel angels were aware of Genesis 3:15 that says a Messiah would come from Adam and Eve's lineage to crush evil and defeat them. So in their minds, their only shot at avoiding their fate would be to corrupt Adam and Eve's lineage, to prevent Jesus from being born, and to prolong their life. So if you believe in the supernatural origin of the giants, these fallen angels bred into humanity to create the giants. The giants are that virus. It's an interesting theory. Whether or not the angels were that strategic, I don't know. But some think the giants were strategically placed in Canaan to block God from doing anything there. But it still doesn't prove there were giants at Jericho. So I went digging for academic research. I went hunting in the Biblical Archaeological Society's library and found an article called Biblical Views, Giants at Jericho. Only problem was the article was locked behind a paywall, but you and I have to know what's in there, right? So I bought a membership just for us. Ronald S. Hendel confirmed, "We're not nuts for going down this track." He said, the story, referring to Jericho, fails to mention that the men and women, young and old, were thought to be giants. So he's saying that's just part of the tradition of the day. That's how they thought. Even a scholar here from Berkeley knows the thinking of the day was that Jericho housed giants. It's just been forgotten. But if you're anything like me, I need some more evidence to directly tie the giants to Jericho, and we're about to get it. Then I found the mother of all clues. All of the cities to be utterly destroyed had one thing in common. Hebrew expert Dr. Michael Heiser noticed every time the Hebrew word Herem occurs in the Bible, meaning devote to destruction, well, let's just hear from the expert. He said the command to devote to destruction, Herem, was focused on the giant clans, denoted by words like Anakim, Rephaim, and occasionally Amorites. That is, I believe the rationale for the Herem was to eliminate the Anakim, the vestiges or descendants of the giants called Nephilim. Bingo. He said God only gave the Herem command to cities with giants in the area. Apparently I have no life because I traced his work myself. Oh, my brain. Make it stop. All the cities on this list with the Herem command to devote to destruction also have a Bible verse somewhere else connecting them to a giant sighting. So Heiser had done some serious detective work. Jericho is the exception. No direct giant sighting is mentioned there, but it is implied because Jericho was lumped in with the other cities to be destroyed because giants had been spotted there. That's as direct of a tie as we're going to get. And it's not concrete, but it's pretty solid. Rahab was living in the shadow of giants. She could have been destroyed with them, but she defected. She switched loyalty to the God of Israel. And that's really what salvation is, deciding to trust in God and what He has planned for the future. Because of that treason against the giants, Rahab went on to become an ancestor of Jesus. This is why the giant storyline is so important to understand. If you take the giants out of the Old Testament conquest, it looks like God is just ordering Israel to go around wiping entire people groups off the map just because they had a different religion. And that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense biblically, because in Babel, the people who had chosen to follow other gods, God just let them go their own way. So why is He here wiping people out for having different gods? The missing piece is the giants. Some even suggest they were strategically placed in the land by the fallen angels, but with the giants in place, the story becomes a mission to rescue humans from a spiritual and physical threat. So, were there literal giants at Jericho? I can't say for sure, but the evidence seems to point that way. So are you convinced? Let me know in the comments. But if there were giants at Jericho, where did they come from originally? Check this video out next.